Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Commissioner Board and Dr. Garretson, wherever you may be. This is Bruce Patterson, Garwood, New Jersey. I have one agenda question and then a comment with a request. Resolution 635 notes a settlement of $140,000 in Riviera versus Union County Prosecutor's Office. This was about getting documents by Oprah. Please explain in depth why it is costing the taxpayers $140,000 just for pieces of paper. That does not even include the county legal costs either. To my comments, and I will try to contain my outrage. Last night at the UCIA meeting, speaking extemporaneously, I ended up yelling at them, but I do not hold that crew in high regard anyway, since it's just politically connected appointees with no expertise. The legal challenge by DOBCO regarding the Union County government complex illegal bidding is ruled in DOBCO's favor that Union County had violated local public contracts law. But even with warnings by the judges over the last 1.5 years, you continued on your spending spree without any concern and some ridiculous alibi that it is too far along and we cannot stop. This was abetted in part by your legal counsels of this county and the UCIA, which obviously were misleading you on. This episode, which should have been averted 1.5 years ago, despite warnings from the courts and the state authority, kept moving forward. It turned into one big cluster F, and now, by your own professionals' admittance, say it will cost upwards of another $30 million and take another 3 to 5 years. And that doesn't include the abused tax monies of spending $9 million up front for phase one, and who knows how much in legal costs spent over the last 2 years. This falls directly on the feet of your employees, Bibby Taylor and Edward Oatman, who were invested personally in crafting this mess and no expertise and competence. This failure reveals deep incompetence on their part. I noted to you many times as an expert in construction that this project was being handled totally wrong and it needs to stop. Any good leadership would have stepped up and stopped this fiasco before it got too far. Sadly, you and your legal consultants pushed on. And you even commended Taylor and Oatman while this fiasco went down in flames, giving them 8% and 18% raises. The final slap in our face is that these two don't even live in our county, so won't feel any pain. Over the years attending these meetings, I find basically you exhibit no critical thinking, just vote yes, go along to get along, and just to collect your annual $30,000 without making any hard decisions. To the point the public sees this level of government as inept, just self-serving, useless, and part of a corrupted system created by political bosses like DeFilippo and Scutari, who allegedly pull your strings. Another perfect example is the $750,000 in missing COVID monies funneled to one-person firm, MV Strategies. We find nothing to show for it. Brought to you by Edward Oatman and Bibby Taylor's husband's law firm. I ask you to plan an executive session to discuss what to do with these two employees and the huge exorbitant disaster they made. Any private company, they would be summarily fired. At the very least, they should be censored, demoted, and the raises of 8% and 18% taken away, along with removing Bibby Taylor from destroying the UCIA any further. There has to be accountability. There must be consequences. Please show some backbone, make the proper hard decisions in the interest of the taxpayers and the public. This clown show has to stop. And one last item regarding the Tap Into article of July 1st covering the UC government complex legal ruling. It included an interview with a resident who had some negative comments. Someone in the county had the audacity to call the newspaper and threaten them to scrub those negative comments. Imagine the audacity of your county government doing this bullying. As a resident, I demand you look into just who did this and fire them immediately. Hopefully, you will have an answer for the public at an upcoming meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. County Council, is there any light you can shed on 635?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was, in fact, a Open Public Records Act case, which started a number of years ago. At the time, the county strictly followed the Attorney General's guidelines concerning release of police investigation records. What essentially happened was over the 2.5, 3 years that it took to litigate this, the law changed. When we finally got this matter before the New Jersey Supreme Court, the Attorney General argued against enforcing their own rules that we had followed. So at the time, we did right. The law changed, and unfortunately, Union County got caught in the middle. But from a legal standpoint, we were following the law. At this time, my office did recommend and does recommend approving the settlement as it makes financial sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. In terms to the speaker's other comments, the only thing I'm going to say